I used to think being the independent one was something to be proud of. You know, baking cookies for campus fundraisers, pulling double shifts at the library, always smiling like I wasn't constantly calculating whether I could afford eggs this week. My name's Maya Russo. I'm 20, a second-year education major at a state college in Milwaukee. People say I'm the responsible niece, the self-made one. The girl who never complains, never asks for help, never needs a ride. They have no idea what my life has actually been like. See, my parents, Bill and Trisha, raised me on this bootstrap philosophy. Don't expect handouts, learn to hustle. Be grateful you've got a roof over your head. It sounded noble when I was younger, until I started noticing that rule didn't apply to everyone in our family. Like my cousin Claire. She got her first car at 16, fully paid for by Grandma's startup fund. My little sister Hannah? Fully funded trip to Europe last summer. A cultural experience, Mom said, like I was dumb for even asking how we could afford that. Meanwhile, I was rolling quarters to buy instant oatmeal, and I kept my mouth shut. Because apparently, asking where my college support was made me entitled. But the part that cut the deepest? It was Grandma. She'd been the only one who seemed to see me. When I got into college, she promised, on her front porch with both our hands wrapped around lukewarm lemonade, that she'd make sure I didn't have to stress over tuition or rent. I believed her. I clung to that promise like a life raft. But nothing came. No checks, no text, no call, nothing. I remember crying alone in the stairwell of my dorm the night I had to drop a core class because I couldn't afford the textbook. I didn't even blame her. I figured maybe she was sick. Maybe something happened. So I kept grinding. I sold baked goods at open mic nights, took any campus job I could get, even started dog walking off Craigslist. I got used to it, being broke, skipping lunch, making excuses when friends invited me out. I didn't tell anyone how bad it got. Not even when I went 2 straight days without eating anything but stale muffins from a campus event. Then came the birthday dinner. Grandma turned 75 last weekend, and she wanted everyone, like everyone, under one roof. The Russo clan doesn't do anything small, so the whole extended family showed up. I almost didn't go. I couldn't afford a gift, and my work shifts were tight. But something in me needed to see her. I figured I'd bake cookies, like always, show my face, and bounce before anyone asked awkward questions. The night started fine. Buffet table loaded with food I hadn't tasted in months. Grilled salmon, fresh rolls, real salad that didn't come in a plastic tub. I kept to myself mostly, just eating, nodding, avoiding eye contact with people who pretended to know me. Then, during dessert, out of nowhere, Grandma looked across the table, right at me, and said, "Sweetheart, is the $3,000 I've been sending you every month enough? You still look so thin." The room went silent. Like, you could hear the ice melting in someone's glass. I froze. Fork halfway to my mouth. My stomach flipped. I said, "What money?" Her expression shifted, slow and sharp. "The monthly transfers. I've been sending them through your parents since freshman year." I looked at my mom. Her face drained of color. My dad reached for his wine like it might save him. No one said a word. I felt the ground under me crack. And right then, as everyone at the table turned their heads in unison to look at my parents, I realized something I should have seen a long time ago. They lied. They stole. And they let me starve while smiling in my face. That was the moment everything changed. I don't remember putting my fork down. I think it just slid from my hand and clattered against the plate. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. My mom blinked fast like she was trying to buy time from her own eyelids. My dad looked like someone had just turned the lights on during a robbery. Everyone else? Just staring. Cousins with half-bitten cake in their mouths. Aunt Jen with her hand frozen mid-toast. My little sister whispering something to Claire that I couldn't hear, but didn't need to. Grandma's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Trisha, Bill, where's Maya's money?" It wasn't a question. It was a command. And I swear, if silence could sweat, the air would have been dripping. My mom stuttered first. "Mom, please, this isn't the time. Not here. Not in front of everyone." That's when I felt it. The switch in me, like something cracked wide open in my chest, and the years I spent pushing down the hunger, the exhaustion, the humiliation of pretending I was fine. All of it surged up like lava. "Actually, this is the perfect time," I said. My voice came out calm, but every inch of me was shaking. I've worked 30 hours a week since freshman year. Skipped meals. Skipped textbooks. Had to borrow $400 just to fix a busted laptop because I thought Grandma had forgotten me. But she didn't. I turned to her. "You didn't." Grandma looked heartbroken. "I would have never sent that kind of money to anyone else," she said, more to herself than anyone. "You've always been the responsible one." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because I'd built an entire identity around surviving, around proving I could handle everything on my own. I'd worn that like a badge, while my own parents were pocketing the help that was meant to make my life bearable. I stood up. I didn't even plan to. My legs just moved. "You've been stealing from me," I said, staring straight at my dad. He didn't deny it. He just rubbed his jaw and muttered, "It's not that simple." But it was that simple. That money wasn't a gray area. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was meant for me, and they took it, all while calling me dramatic whenever I said I was drowning. My mom finally stood, voice brittle with fake outrage. "You think raising a family is free? We've made sacrifices for you," I snapped. "What sacrifice?" "You let me suffer so you could open a fucking nail salon with Aunt Marcy? While I was eating leftover student center muffins for dinner?" Dead silence. People started shifting in their seats. Uncle Lou coughed. Someone's fork dropped. Grandma turned to them, cold, quiet fury on her face. "Is this true?" My dad tried to answer, but she raised her hand. "I want details," she said, her voice steady and low. "Now." And just like that, the story spilled out. They'd used the first few months of the money to cover utilities, they said. Then rent. Then my sister's senior trip. Then the rest as seed funding for a small nail salon my mom opened with her sister. A business that failed within 6 months. I sat down slowly. Not because I was done, but because I wasn't sure my legs would keep holding me up. All that work. All that stress. Every night I'd gone to sleep with an empty stomach and a pit in my gut, and they were out here chasing business dreams using my future as fuel. I looked at Grandma. Her jaw was tight, hands clenched on her wine glass. "We'll speak privately after dessert," she said, then turned to the rest of the table. "Enjoy the cake. I won't be joining." She stood up and walked out without another word. My parents followed, their faces pale and tight, like two kids getting hauled into the principal's office. The room exhaled once they were gone. No one dared speak to me. Some avoided eye contact. A few whispered. Claire gave me a half smile like I'd just done something heroic. But I didn't feel powerful. I felt exposed, hollow. I stayed until the end out of politeness. But the minute I hugged Grandma goodbye and stepped outside into the cold night air, I broke. Not loud sobs, just tears, quietly soaking my jacket collar as I sat in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together. That was the night I knew I couldn't go back. Not just to the dorm, but to the version of myself that thought surviving was enough. Because apparently, I'd spent the last 2 years surviving the wrong enemies. I couldn't sleep that night. I laid on my grandma's guest bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything like a bad movie stuck on loop. The moment she asked me about the money, the way my parents crumbled like old paper, the stares, the silence, the heat rising in my face as the truth cracked open right there in front of 3 generations of family. I didn't cry. Not after the initial shock wore off. I just felt scraped raw, like someone had taken a vegetable peeler to my insides. The next morning, Grandma was already at the kitchen table when I came down. Same green mug she always used, filled with coffee that was probably brewed before sunrise. She didn't say good morning, just patted the chair across from her. "I called the bank," she said. "Starting next month, I'm transferring your money directly, and I'm paying the rest of your tuition up front. You'll get the confirmation email today." My throat tightened. "You don't have to." "I know I don't," she interrupted. "But I will." I sat down slowly, gripping my mug with both hands. She stared at me with this fierce kind of tenderness I wasn't used to. "I let them handle it because I thought it was simpler," she said. "I thought I was doing what a mother should, trusting her children. I was wrong." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Then she said something that sent a chill straight down my spine. "I've also changed my will." I looked up. "Wait, what?" She stirred her coffee slowly, calm like she was just talking about the weather. "Your parents will receive nothing more from me, not after what they did. You're the one I trust now. Everything I leave behind, it's yours." I nearly dropped my cup. "Grandma, I don't need—" "It's not about need," she cut in gently. "It's about who I believe in, who's earned it." I didn't know what to say. My stomach flipped with a mix of gratitude and dread. I knew what this meant. This wasn't just money. It was a line being drawn. And lines like that always come with consequences. Sure enough, they came knocking 3 days later. Literally. I was back at school, just getting out of a Friday lecture, when I saw them, my parents, standing outside my dorm building like they were lost tourists. My dad had this stiff smile pasted on his face. My mom clutched her purse like it was a weapon. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "We just want to talk," Dad said. I didn't want a scene, so I led them to the bench near the side parking lot. As soon as we sat, my mom launched in. "Your grandma told us everything." I raised an eyebrow. "Everything?" She said she changed her will, that you're her sole heir now. My mom's voice was tight, brittle. "So?" My dad leaned forward, hands clasped like he was praying. We made a mistake, a big one. But cutting us off completely, that's cruel." I laughed, loud enough to make 2 students walking by turn their heads. "Cruel? You think this is cruel? Try selling cookies on the sidewalk so you don't starve. Try asking your roommate for money because you can't fix your only laptop. Try living like you're invisible while the people who are supposed to love you are lying to your face." My mom flinched, but then her jaw clenched. "We had no choice. Your sister needed help. The business—" "She didn't need my money," I snapped. "You didn't even ask. You just took it, lied about it. Let me think Grandma had forgotten me." My dad stood up, started pacing. "Look, we're in a tight spot. The house is mortgaged. The salon failed. Your sister's tuition is due. You're getting all this money now, can't you just talk to Grandma? Ask her to reconsider?" I stared at them, really stared, and I saw it. The desperation, not for me, but for the inheritance. "No," I said, cold and clear. "I'm not your backup plan. Not anymore." That's when my mom said it. "If she dies soon, that's over $700,000. You really think you can handle that on your own?" I blinked. Time froze. She realized what she'd just said the moment it left her mouth. Covered it up quickly with, "I didn't mean it like that." But it was too late. Something in me just broke. "You're not here for me," I said quietly. "You're here for the money." Neither of them denied it. I stood up and walked away, not even turning around. I could feel their eyes on my back, but I didn't stop. Because in that moment, something clicked. They didn't lose a daughter. They never saw me as one to begin with. After they left campus, I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I didn't spiral. I just sat. On the same bench where they tried to guilt me into giving up the one thing that finally made me feel like my life wasn't a cosmic joke. My roommate Jess found me there half an hour later. She didn't ask what happened. She just handed me a warm Starbucks cup and sat beside me, quiet. Finally, I said, "They told me I can't handle what Grandma's leaving me. That I'm not ready." She blinked. "Did they forget you've literally handled everything they should have?" I smiled. For the first time that week, it wasn't bitter. That weekend, I took the train to Grandma's. I didn't tell her I was coming. I just showed up with a tote bag full of fresh bagels and my laptop. She answered the door in her slippers, mascara half done. "Either this is a hostage negotiation," she said, "or you finally missed my coffee." "Little of both," I said. We sat in the sunroom. I told her everything. How my parents ambushed me. The guilt tripping, the threats, the ugly sentence about her death and the inheritance, like she was already gone. Grandma was quiet for a long time, looking out at the backyard. Then she said, "We're going to make sure they never get a single penny more." That was the first time I saw her angry. Not sharp-tongued, not scolding. Strategic. Her kind of fury didn't slam doors. It drafted legal documents. She opened a drawer and pulled out a thick folder labeled Estate Prep, then handed me a smaller envelope. "I'm having my lawyer finalize this next week," she said. "And this," she tapped the envelope, "is yours. Emergency backup plan, in case they pull something desperate." I hesitated. "What is it?" "Let's just say it's the kind of thing that would make them very careful about pushing you again." Back at school, something shifted in me. I started walking differently. Not in some dramatic, slow-motion movie way. Just straighter. Lighter. Like the weight of pretending everything was okay had finally slid off. I dropped one of my weekend shifts and started tutoring local high schoolers for extra income. For once, money wasn't life or death. It was just money. And then came the text. From my mom. "You should really talk to your grandma. She's not well lately." I froze. "Not well?" I called Grandma instantly. She picked up on the second ring, chipper as ever. Said she'd just gotten back from pickleball. Not sick, not fainting, not dead. So I knew what this was. A setup. The next day I got a call from my aunt, Mom's sister. She was the good one. Always kind to me. Always slipped me gas money when nobody was looking. "Amanda," she said carefully, "I need to tell you something." That's when everything cracked open. My aunt had overheard my parents on a phone call, planning to visit Grandma that weekend, not to check in, but to convince her to change the will again. They were hoping to catch her alone. Get her while she was emotional. Maybe bring Hannah too. Play the family card. "I couldn't let that happen without warning you," she said. I felt like ice was sliding down my back. This wasn't just desperation anymore. This was manipulation. A con job. And it wasn't the first time, apparently. Turns out they'd done something similar to my great-uncle years ago when he was dying, convinced him to rewrite his will under pressure. It split the family for a decade. I hung up, shaking. They weren't going to stop. Not with words. Not with guilt. And certainly not because it was the right thing to do. So I made a call. Sunday afternoon, I waited with Grandma in her living room. She made tea. I brought my laptop. And a voice recorder. At exactly 3:12 p.m., the doorbell rang. My mom walked in first, arms spread like we were in a Hallmark movie. "Maya, sweetie, surprise! We were just in the neighborhood." I didn't say a word, just nodded toward the couch. Dad followed, quieter this time. They launched in quickly, asked Grandma if she was doing okay, if she'd thought about revisiting a few estate decisions, that she must be under a lot of pressure lately, that maybe she was being misled. Grandma didn't say a word. She just looked at me. I clicked a small remote on the table. The voice recorder lit up. Then I opened my laptop. And on the screen, a shared Google Doc titled Estate Plan, Witnessed and Sealed. Next to it, a live Zoom window, with her lawyer already on. Their faces drained. Grandma leaned back in her chair. "If you say another word about my will," she said coolly, "you'll be speaking directly to a judge." The room went dead quiet. My mom's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. But it was too late. They'd just walked into a trap of their own making. They didn't speak after Grandma's warning. My parents just sat there, frozen on the floral couch like mannequins in some twisted family museum. My mom kept glancing between the glowing red dot on the recorder and the Zoom window, where Grandma's lawyer watched silently, his face unreadable. My dad kept his eyes on the floor. They'd walked in thinking they were the ones pulling the strings. Now they couldn't even find their own feet. Grandma didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Every word she said cut clean. "I may be old," she told them, "but I'm not confused. And I'm not afraid of being alone, especially if the alternative is being surrounded by people who smile while stealing from their own child." My mom finally spoke, her voice cracked and thin. "We thought we were doing what was best." "No," Grandma said. "You did what was easiest, and you hoped Maya would be too polite or too scared to challenge you." She turned to me then, and I'll never forget what she said. "You don't owe them anything. You never did." My throat burned. Not from anger this time, but from something softer. A kind of quiet relief I hadn't known I needed. They left soon after, without another word. No apology, no last-ditch plea. Just the sound of the front door clicking shut like the final page of a book that didn't deserve a sequel. In the weeks that followed, I waited for the fallout. I expected rage texts, family drama, some cousin calling to tell me I was being too harsh. But it didn't come. Instead, silence. Cold, clean silence. And I didn't hate it. Back at school, I picked up a part-time position as a research assistant. I started cooking real meals in the dorm kitchen. Actual food, not instant noodles. I got my first A+ on a paper I didn't have to write between double shifts. And every Sunday, without fail, Grandma called just to check in. One day she asked, "So what are you going to do with all this freedom?" I thought about it for a second. "Live like I'm not a second choice," I said. She laughed. "About damn time." A month later, my aunt, the one who warned me, called with an update. "Just thought you should know," she said. "Your mom and dad are selling the house. They're downsizing." I didn't say anything. "And your mom's business license got flagged. Turns out she claimed your tuition money as a personal business loan to avoid taxes. That's being looked into now." That one got me, not because I wanted them punished. Not really. But because for the first time, the weight of their choices was landing on them, not me. I didn't gloat. I didn't call to say, "Told you so." I just exhaled. A long, slow breath like I hadn't taken in years. The spring semester flew by. My GPA jumped. My weekends were spent reading for fun, tutoring younger students, going on walks with friends. And I stopped looking over my shoulder. I even took a short trip over spring break. Just me, a good book, and a cabin by a lake. No phone calls, no obligations, just quiet. A few days after I got back, I found a letter in my dorm mailbox. It was from my dad. The envelope was wrinkled, like someone had second-guessed sending it a few times. Inside was a short note, written in his tight, familiar handwriting. "We don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know. We're proud of you. You did what none of us had the courage to do. Your mom still can't talk about it without crying. I hope one day you'll come home, if only to visit. Love, Dad." I stared at the paper for a long time. Not angry, not touched, just tired. Maybe it was the truth. Maybe it was guilt. But either way, I wasn't ready. And that was okay. I tucked the letter into the drawer where I kept my old acceptance letter, my bank statements, and the first cash receipt I ever got from a campus job. Not to dwell on it, just to remind myself how far I'd come. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes the people who claim to love you the loudest are the ones who teach you how to love yourself the hard way. and walking away doesn't make you cold. It means you finally decided your dignity is worth more than their approval. If you've ever been the responsible one, the quiet one, they'll be fine one, I see you. And I hope you know you don't owe anyone the version of yourself that lets them stay comfortable. And if any part of this story feels familiar to you, drop it in the comments. I'd really like to hear your side too. And if you're still with me by the end of this, stick around. We've got more stories to tell.